Being someone that professionally reviews laptops, people ask me all the time, what laptop should I get? And kind of the default answer for anyone that needs like a bit of power, like good screen, just generally a good laptop has been the XPS 15. And it's kind of gone from the last time that it was updated in 2012, it was like, yeah, get the XPS 15, this thing's sick, oh my God. Kind of like, I guess, there's not really any other options for you. Like you can get a blade, but I don't know, it's probably gonna break. I say that because Brandon wants to buy an XPS and his blade broke. Yeah. But hopefully very soon you won't have to deal with like this very small trackpad for 2020 and these also quite small keycaps that are frankly worse than the ones that Alienware has been putting out lately. So let's get into it. But we don't have just an XPS 15 here. We have also got an XPS 17, which according to the product manager that I talked to beforehand was the single hardest laptop he's ever had to design. According to Dell, this is not the official unboxing. It's pretty close, but these are pre-production units. So yeah, it's probably not gonna be all marked up on the production version here. Ooh, it looks about the same from here, honestly. But what else do we have? So we've got some warranty and safety regulation, a rather large power brick, 130 watts. That shows you what kind of power like this thing right here has got. We also have a USB to Type A connector, very nice to have for when you just like own a mouse and want to use it with this and the laptop arrives and you find out you can't. That really sucks on a lot of other ones. And you know, good old power adapter. So we have a full-size SD card reader here. We have USB Type-C, that's just normal USB Type-C, and a headphone jack. And also we have these edges that are quite sexy. So they're diamond cut on a CNC machine all the way around here. And it's 2 pieces of aluminum. So you have a piece of aluminum here, another one there, and also the carbon fiber sheet along the top. On the other side, we have 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports. Each one has 4 PCIe lanes and the good old Kensington lock. We also, you know, on the bottom, let's just do the full tour around here. We've got, I think these are speaker grills? I'm not totally sure. And some vents. But let's get into what you actually want to see here. But first, PIA, the sponsor of this video. So PIA encrypts all of your internet traffic and uses a safe, protected IP. Connect up to 5 devices, Windows, macOS, Android, iOS, and Linux. They also have an internet kill switch, which keeps you in control of your connection. Try it risk-free with their 30-day money-back guarantee at the link below. That's a big trackpad. That is awesome. Look at how much space there is there. You can just, it's the first time that I've ever seen a Windows machine. Like Razer gets kind of close, but that is very similar in just general size. I wonder if it has the same sort of a feel. First impressions, of course, here. Friggin' amazing for a Windows machine. Maybe even excellent for a Mac machine. I would say comparable at least. They feel just very similar, which is probably the highest compliment possible. It's the kind of thing where like you're able to just turn down the sensitivity a little bit when you have so much room to move around and you don't have to worry about like you start over here and then you end up off the side. Whereas like the other one, let's just in the top down here give you guys a nice idea of how much of an upgrade this is. So there's the new and here is the old. It absolutely dwarfs it. Is it twice as big? It has to be close, if not twice as big. Ooh, that was dangerous. Okay, let's actually science this here. 10.5 times 8. So the old one was 840 millimeters square. The new one is 135 millimeters square. So that's what, like 60% increase? Something like that? Just look at it. I don't know what else to say besides it's just a beautiful thing. Another really noticeable thing here is the switch to 16 by 10. It's one of those things that Apple does on their machines, and I don't know why everyone doesn't just go 16 by 10. You know, instead of just this big black bar along the bottom, you get extra screen, and this extra like vertical space is so useful for just everything that you're doing, especially productivity wise. So like, you know, you have all of the taskbars up top and you can just see a lot more text in Word documents. It's surprising how much just that tiny bit of, I don't know, that like thumb's width of space down there just helps you have an easier time seeing everything. So also, although these are both 15.6 inch displays, because this one's 16 by 10, it is a bit smaller. It's not much, but to be fair, it's noticeable. Also, I wonder if thickness is any different. I'd say that's about 2 mil. So, you know, it's not a big difference, but at the same time, it has the same amount of power, more screen, and way more trackpad. So I can dig it. It also just looks so much better. I don't know what it is, but you just look at these two devices and this one, well, I want to say it makes this one look old, but the old XPS 15 looked like it was designed in 2012 beforehand. So this one looks just new and modern and like something that I really want to have. But that's not even all that we have here. Let's get into the other one. So I will admit that I did take a peek at the XPS 15 beforehand. I have legitimately not looked at the 17 before. So far it looks like an XPS device, that is for sure. Let's go for the power brick first. I'm curious how much more power you get, or if it's the same one. 130 watts, okay. So I'm guessing that it's overbuilt for the XPS 15, which I think has a 50 watt TDP and is actually spec'd out for the big ol' 17 here that has a 100 watt TDP. So once again, we get the diamond cut edges along here that I think look fantastic. And you also have 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports, which are each 4 PCIe lanes. And then on the other side, this is the really fun part, you have 2 more Thunderbolt 3 ports with 4 PCIe lanes each as well. So this has actually 2 Thunderbolt 3 controllers in it, meaning I don't know, you can just hook up all you want to it, I guess. That's a lot of bandwidth. We also have SD card reader and headphones. Oh, I imagine there's charging on both sides too. That's one of the things that I really loved about the XPS 13 was that you're able to just plug in the charger on one side or the other, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but think about how many times you've had to like take your charger when it's like over here and kind of like drag it across the table, and then you're like, oh no, it doesn't quite reach, and then you have to like,
That's amazing.
Yeah, you can just plug it on the other side. It's great.
Amazing.
It looks actually very similar. Is that the same size touchpad? I'm guessing it's the exact same unit here, but we can find out. Not that you're going to be complaining about the size of this at all. 150 and yeah, it's totally the same size, which isn't bad. It doesn't quite get to the size of, you know, the Apple one here. On the 17, they definitely could have made it a smidge larger, but at the same time, I don't think they really needed to. This is half a heavy one though. I wonder, what is the weight on this? So MacBook Pro 16-inch is 4.18 pounds, which we're going to round up to 4.2. The 15 is, I'm guessing, very similar. 4.21, okay, so, you know, couple grams difference, but essentially the same. And the 17, which certainly feels heavier, 5.24, yeah, so this thing's a whole pound heavier than the other two here. You can certainly notice that, and like, given how big this is, like, as far as it's quite a thin machine, it's very dense. You normally don't see like 5.5 pounds until something's like super gamer. That screen is so sick though. There's just so much of it. It's shockingly big. So for both of our XPSs here, we have the 4K version, which is actually 3840 by 2400 pixels because, you know, it's 16 by 10. They also go up to 500 nits, which I think is 100 more than the last one, although they don't have the OLED that the previous 15 had, which was sick to look at. These are also both touchscreen, although unfortunately the 1080p versions aren't going to have touch at the start. I kind of talked to them, I was like, I'm gonna have to get mad at you in the review for that. And they're like, yeah, we know. Maybe later, but can't comment. I really hope that they get touch in the lower end ones. That said, damn. A display of this size, which I think is 17 inches on the dot, it's not like a 17.7, it's like 17.0. You actually would be able to tell the difference between 1080p and 4K if you like. You would still have to get close, I imagine somewhere around here. But it's not like these 13-inch ones where you have to be like, One thing that Dell also would not stop talking about was that these are blue light safe panels. Apparently it was a huge pain in the ass to develop them with Sharp so that they wouldn't emit like the harmful blue light and only give you like the good stuff without causing color shifting within the display like you would with like using Flux or something like that. I'm curious how well it works, but at the same time, I feel like I need like a color scientist to come in and show me how well it works. I don't think I'll be able to pick up on something like that with just my eyeballs. I guess it's keyboard time, notepad. On the XPS 13, you get 1mm of key travel, which is pretty much what you'd expect, and it's surprisingly good for how short of a travel that is. Although on the new one here, we get 1.3mm of travel, and it's shocking how much of a difference that little bit can make. It just feels, I don't know, more deliberate when you're typing. Like you can kind of go in and get into sort of like a flow state of typing easier than you can on the 13. Whereas on the 13, I feel like that I can just burst through stuff really quickly. I wonder how it compares to the Mac. That's the real question that everybody cares about. We've got the new Magic Keyboard, 16-inch. I don't think I like the Magic Keyboard as much. So it is a good keyboard. I have to give Apple that, but when I have it side by side with the XPS 17, the Dell just feels a bit softer almost. Like you have a nice tactile switch, but then it kind of just keeps on going and doesn't have like an abrupt end. Whereas the Magic Keyboard feels a lot more like it's like a jolt as opposed to like a, if that makes any sense at all. It reminds me a lot of kind of like, you know, those older laptop keyboards that were just fantastic because they didn't care about how big it was. It has a very similar feel to that. Even though I think on like a ThinkPad or something like that, you'd have like 1.7mm of actuation. We should test the speakers. Yeah, they said before you listen to it, to come in here and enable 3D experience. Head tracking is on. Oh my God, what is this? Honestly, that is quite impressive. It sounded like a thing just came right across there. It is very similar to what you get with Dolby Atmos in the MacBook or like an HP, but it is still pretty cool. But now the big test here, how does it fare against the MacBook? Okay, so this is the Dell XPS, and my first impressions is that it's worse. I'm sorry, Dell. Let's switch back over. Oh, that's much better. Yeah, this would be pretty impressive in isolation, but when you compare it to that, like the MacBook, it's not very close. I can't tell you for sure if the battery life on these two is going to be great, but according to what Dell has told me, and more importantly really just the raw specs of it, these should be very good. So the 15-inch gets an 86 watt-hour battery and the 17-inch gets a 97 watt-hour battery, which is basically as big of a battery as you can fit on a plane without, you know, you have to get a special exception or something. You guys have to do that for your camera sometimes, right? If I had to guess, you'll probably be able to use the 15 for something like 9 hours, and the 17 will probably get you closer to 10 and a half, but it really depends on what you're gonna do, because these are able to come with some really powerful configurations. So the 15-inch comes with up to, what is it, an i7 10875H on launch, so that's 8 cores up to 5.1 gigahertz. And sometime afterwards, you'll be able to get an i9 10885H, which is up to 5.3 gigahertz. Not fantastically named processors. The 15-inch is also available with up to an NVIDIA GTX 1650 Ti, which for the vast majority of stuff that you want to do, even like light to moderate gaming, is going to be more than enough. The 17 also comes with that i9, which is, you know, up to 5.3 gigahertz, 8 cores, absolute beast, but it also comes with an RTX 2060. So the Max Q model in both of them, because like, you know, look at it, it's not a big device. But at the same time, damn, this thing with a 2060 is going to be pretty good at gaming. And by pretty good, I mean excellent at gaming. And anything that you want to do as far as like professional applications go, unless you're like, I don't know, doing 1500 part models in SolidWorks, it's gonna be able to handle it like a beast. I'm pretty tempted to switch over to one of these just because, like, you know, I've got the Surface laptop here. She's not super powerful. It's pretty good most of the time, but then you go over to like 105 and I'm trying to create CAD models and it's not gonna do it. I just have to walk back up and go to my desktop. Whereas with one of these guys right here, anywhere that I go, I'd be able to work on the biggest CAD models that I can throw at it. I am super excited to fully review these guys. We can't look at any performance in them because they're pre-production units, and you know, pre-production units are flaky at the best of times. I'm gonna set up all three here, the new family of XPSs. They look pretty friggin' good. I'm very excited about all of these laptops. And I might actually switch to one. 15-inch right here is looking very compelling. I know Brandon's going to.
Yes.
Yeah, Brandon's probably pre-ordering.
100%.
Anyway, get subscribed for more early looks like this one right here. Get subscribed to LTT so you can watch the full review. And I don't know, hit like. Or yeah, just only hit like.